It's Mark and Dave on KEX. Do you own a gun? Chances are my asking the question didn't offend you, but the Public Employee Benefit Board has State Representative Jim Thompson hot enough to introduce HB 4054 and explain to us why that's introduced, Representative.
Well, that came about because PEB, in their health engagement model, posed a question to its members as to whether or not they own a gun. Two things inspired the bill. The first was, I don't think it's PEB's business to know whether or not somebody owns a gun. That's a constitutional right. But it irritated me that that question was placed in among other questions like, do you wear your seatbelt? Do you speed in your automobile? Things that are patently illegal. And I thought it kind of tainted the question, do you own a gun, on top of some questions about illegal activities. And so that the two of them together, I said, I don't think so. We don't need to do this. When I inquired, they said the question is in there because whether or not you own a gun is a health risk. And then that really fired me up because I don't believe that.
Let me stop you right there because it wouldn't bother me if I saw it, right? But I'm not a gun owner.
Yeah.
But I know that I have gone to my pediatrician, my kids' doctors, because, parent has to be there for all the physicals.
Right.
And one of the questions doctors ask parents is, do you have a gun in the house? And I thought, at first, I thought it was a strange question.
Right.
But then I thought, well, you know what? That's a great question because it got me to thinking, if I had one, maybe make sure it's locked up.
I was going to say, but do they stop there? Do they further ask, do you properly store your gun? That's a health risk question, potentially.
Right.
But if you don't do the follow-up question, it makes do you own a gun the overriding question. And I want to ask, why are you asking me that? And then if you say, I need to know because I want to know if you've got it stored properly for the sake of children in your house, okay, now we can have a conversation.
Right.
But do you own a gun does not get me to that point. It's just plain recording information that you're not going to answering that question with no further follow-up is not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah, what is PEB's answer? That's the Public Employees Benefit Board. What is their response to you? Why is that question on the questionnaire?
Well, they told us that it was on there because it's part of a national questionnaire that is used by Kaiser, which is their contractor for that particular segment. And I appreciate that because I know private insurance companies do ask that question. But PEB is not a private insurance company. It's a government agency. And I think they need to be a little bit more sensitive to public perception, more so than a private company I choose to do business with or not. I have no choice whether I do business with PEB or not. They're a public agency.
Can we make a link between other questions about, do you smoke, your seatbelt, do you wear a seatbelt in the car? Is there a correlation between all those questions?
I'm not certain that there is because
I see it. Yeah. Am I living risky behavior?
The risky behavior is what I choose to do or not do with the gun, not whether I own it. Right. Owning it only opens the door to the questions they should have been asking. But I also, continuing it further, at one time in my life, I had an explosives detonations license. Mm-hmm. That is a risk to your health. That's not on there. There's no question on there about whether or not you ride bicycles in Portland traffic. That could be a health risk. So there's all kinds of questions they could ask. Hang gliding, private pilot, keep going. But to ask just, do you own a gun, in a short list of other questions about illegal activities, I think is a little prejudicial.
Is it prejudicial now to challenge them about taking just that one question out, or should the seatbelt question and all those other questions about presumably breaking the law go ahead?
Well, I think we will eventually have a larger discussion about how to get at health risks. But for the moment, that was the one that has some constitutional overtones and is more inflammatory than the others. But
are you a gun owner?
I am a gun owner, and they're all locked up.
Good, as they should be, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm a big proponent of trigger locks and gun safes and whatnot, and if we were having a discussion about what I do with guns, when I have my grandchildren at my house, do I leave guns laying on the coffee table? Okay, now we got a health risk.
Well, why don't you force them to ask those questions as well?
we may end up doing that. This particular point of this particular bill was to call attention to the fact that they had maybe exceeded some rational boundaries.
Well, it's got people talking, it's got us talking, and people are listening, and that,
Exactly.
too, is the most important thing. Representative, a pleasure to talk to you today.
Anytime.
All right, my
I
friend.
rank Mark and Dave right up there with getting a call from O'Reilly or something. So, I mean, this has been a real treat.
It's our treat. Representative Jim Thompson, state representative representing Dallas, Oregon.